All right, so we have a couple things to talk about today. Mostly, we're going to be covering some new things that are going on in the MCM world. The most and important thing that's coming up is going to be the MCM contract. Now, this is the first that we've talked about it with all of you. So we're going to be having a new MCM contract implemented for MCMs. It'll be just focusing on MCM related things. We're going to send it out with a weekly update on Wednesday. And you can read through it. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask. And ideally, we would like to get it back by the Wednesday after that. So we're going to send it out on the 22nd with a weekly update, and we would like to have it back signed by the 29th. So during that time, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're also going to send out a Google form with it. So if you have any questions about anything, feel free to fill that out. And then that way we'll be able to kind of see which questions are most pressing. And I'll try to update you and everyone as much as I can with answers to those questions. The contract is very similar to the teaching contract in terms of general legalities, but take a look at it. It is going to be a 3-month contract. So we will have to re-sign it every 3 months. And that's pretty much it. You'll get a better idea once you read it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. The other thing that I would like to talk about is a product implementation we're going to be rolling out. It's called generic comment feedback or generic feedbacks. Yeah, it's short. So we're going to be doing that. And just 1 second. Sorry. So yeah, so the generic comment is basically one of the problems we've been noticing with having so many MCMs and having you all write your own feedback is that quite often what you're saying may not be what VIP Kid wants the applicant to hear. And also I know that writing feedback for a lot of you is a lengthy process, and what we're going to be doing is now in your feedback form, whenever you select a point, you're going to see the feedback that the applicant will receive. So that way it's all kind of automated to a certain degree. And the feedbacks that we created, the comments are linked directly to the rubric breakdown. So it's very, very closely intertwined. You'll be able to see exactly, what they're going to see. And also it will help when you are giving your feedback, your verbal feedback. That way you can also kind of get an idea as to what they're going to understand, what they're going to receive. So that way we're not going to have as many discrepancies in terms of understanding. Because as I'm sure you all know, one of the hardest things to work around is how people interpret things, whether it's verbal feedback or written feedback or anything like that. Everyone can interpret things in a very different way. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? You can unmute yourself. So if anyone has any questions to ask, feel free to go ahead.
Eric, hi, this is Teresa. Is this something that we can add additional comments to?
Yes, there are certain things where you can add slide-specific feedback to. So like, for example, on slide 14, you demonstrated X and Y very well, continue doing so. The other thing with the generic comments is that one of the big complaints that our applicants have is that the feedback and the entire application process as a whole can be rather overwhelming. You get all this information, there's ITP, the initial teacher prep, and there's just so much to take in, and they're actually not sure what they've done well and what they can improve on. So one of the things that will happen is if you ever score an applicant 3 out of 3 or give them perfect scores, it'll show like strengths, and then all the generic comments will be linked under strengths. And then if you score in the middle, like 2 out of 3, 1 out of 3, everything will be in the middle. So it'll be like, you did well, but you could improve on this. And if they scored 0 out of anything or 1 out of 3 on anything, then it'll be like, you really need to improve on this. So that way it's very clear where their strengths and weaknesses are. So we're just trying to streamline the overall user experience. Any questions?
Is there like a date for this to be implemented, Eric?
So we've pushed it in a product. Everyone who needs to approve it has approved it. It's just a matter of getting it actually implemented in the system itself. The interviewers, so the very first stage of the interview process, they already have something similar to this. So the framework is there. It's just a matter of plugging everything in. Soon, I hope, real soon.
Thank you.
Got a question.
Go on.
Will it be possible to see all of those and kind of study up on them before they're thrown into our feedback form so that we can kind of start aligning our verbal feedback with them?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll send it out once we have a better idea of what the timeline is for it to be implemented into product. We'll probably send out the generic comments to all of you probably a week or two before. So it'll look very similar to the rubric breakdown. So you can very clearly see what's going to be sent out. And this will also reduce everyone's overall feedback time.
Nice.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. What else are we going to talk about today? Okay, something else which is in the works, and I would be interested on your feedback, is something that we've called like an up for grabs program. So a lot of you have mentioned something about substitute teachers or something like that. The way I envision it, and whether it will actually happen or not is still in the works, is right now when an applicant books their mock class, they see the class limit. So I'm sorry, they see the MCM bookings. They don't see a whole calendar. So for example, if none of you have opened up a slot at 6 a.m. on November 30th, that means that that slot will be grayed out. So we're trying to encourage the fact that they can open up whenever they want. So if an applicant, so the new implementation will be that they will see the whole calendar, regardless of whether there's bookings available or not. And if they book somewhere where maybe it's full up, like all your slots are booked or there's no slots available, then there will be like an alert system. It'll ping all of you through your app and be like, hey, there's a mock class available at X time on X date. Do you want it? And it will be on a first come, first served basis. And in my mind, there will also be like do not disturb hours. So for those of you who are living in a certain time zone, you can say, I don't want any alerts from 8 a.m. from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. because I'm sleeping and I don't want to be woken up by that. That's one thing we would like to implement. I believe this will also be able to be used for as a substitute teacher or substitute MCM program. So if anybody needs to cancel, it could be like, hey, there's a mock class happening in 5 minutes. Boom, does anyone want it? And anyone can pick it up. So this will help when we have really high booking rates. At the moment, I know that's not the case, but when it does happen, because the way mock classes work, they work kind of in waves. So they come at high periods and when the booking rate is super high, and then in the downtime, the booking rate is a bit lower. Talking about the booking rate a little bit. So I know that a lot of you have mentioned about the low booking rate and how it's not great. Right now is a low period for us in terms of applicants coming in. And also we were prepared, maybe a bit too prepared by having so many MCMs ready. So as a result, it was kind of a culmination of things that resulted in this extremely low booking rate. However, our projections say that the booking rate will be a lot higher next year. We have very big goals. So bear with us and it will get better. Hopefully this Up for Grabs program will make everything easier for everyone. And there will also be a bit more on-demand mock classes for whenever anyone wants to take them. Any questions?
Hi, Eric. Oh, sorry.
Go
Hi,
ahead.
Eric. It's Sue. So when do you project next year? Because as you said, it's very slow and some now at this point it's trying to make ends meet. So can you roughly give us a ballpark month?
I can't say exactly for sure. We do know that it picks up a lot during the Chinese New Year holidays. That's when we have more students. That's when we're recruiting more heavily. Like I said, these are all projections. I cannot 100% guarantee anything. If in the meantime you are, the good thing about being an MCM is that you always have major courses to fall back on. And you're all excellent teachers. That's how you got here. So I would say that when times are low, focus more on major course. When we, like for our weekly updates, we always say like recommended slots, right? So that's really, I know it sounds a bit strange is that when mock classes are low, it doesn't make sense to open up less slots. It makes sense to open up a whole lot more slots because that way you'll get more. So if you could all follow to the best of your abilities to kind of follow the recommended slots, then we can better manage everyone's expectations. Because if say, for example, 50 people open up 50 slots and the recommended slots is like 10, then that definitely impacts everyone else. So our recommended slots is very much recommended if everyone kind of follows that model. Yeah. Any questions?
Eric, I have a question.
Mhm.
I was just wondering, is it because they're offering the kickoff meeting? Is that affecting, because a lot of applicants are doing that instead of a mock two? Is that going to be implemented permanently?
The new teacher support, the way it works, for those of you that don't know, basically at mock one, if you score between a certain range where you don't pass, you're given the opportunity to go to a new teacher support kickoff meeting, and then you are going to only teach trial classes where your videos are then reviewed. So we've noticed a lot of very positive feedback with this program, simply because we want to try to offer our applicants more support before they become a teacher. Because you don't want to put in all this time and effort if you're not going to be a teacher. So we'd rather help them in that middle stage. It is working. It will be a permanent part of the application process. But as that grows, we will require more people to help us out with that. So what I can say is that as that grows, we will be able to move people around. We don't have a real process in place yet, simply because the new teacher support program is a very big program, and it's going to be rolled out amongst the entire platform. So we're talking, I think we have almost 1,000 mock classes a day. So just trying to work that into the product, it's a work in progress, but there will be more opportunities for everyone. It's just a matter of building it up. Any other questions?
Robin here. Do we apply for those kinds of things, or do we just wait to be noticed?
At the moment, we don't need you to apply. Don't apply right now. We prefer that once we have all the steps in place, then we'll figure out how we can go about recruiting people, or whether we're going to approach you, or whether it'll be open application. Because everything is moving, I can't say for certain right now. But if you just message me, hey, I'm super interested, I would love to help out with this. It's something that couldn't hurt, just so that at least I know, who's interested. Any other questions? Okay. Now, the monthly mock evals. This is going to be a bit of an open discussion. How have you all been finding the monthly mock evals? Are you enjoying them? Would you like more? Would you like less? How can we help you develop more as an MCM? Anybody?
They're very helpful. I love
Very
them.
helpful. Okay. Would anyone like more?
I
Yeah,
find
Ryan?
yes. A lot
Sorry,
more.
Erin, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I find them helpful. One thing I find myself wanting is to also see the verbal feedback that was given to those applicants. Just to see if like the verbal feedback that I would give if I were live in that classroom would match what that particular MCM is given. Is there a way that we could maybe get access to the full hour session?
Alyssa?
Yeah, that's definitely something we can do in the future. I also want to throw out there kind of an open call. If you have a class that you think is really fantastic, you played a great student role, you gave really good feedback, feel free to send that into mock class, and we can possibly use that in the future. So we're always looking for more videos as well. But yeah, definitely releasing the verbal feedback is something we can do in the future as well.
It was just, yeah, I think that's a great idea. It'd be awesome if we could see the feedback and how the people are delivering the feedback.
Okay, great. We could definitely do that. Okay, so in the meeting, we have Kevin Klein. Once again, Kevin Klein is responsible for the FastPass events and most of the teacher meetups across North America. So she's going to speak for a moment about the FastPass program. So Kevin?
Hey, can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see so many familiar faces and so many new ones as well. Hopefully I'll get to meet you in person soon. I'm Kevin. I have been working in ed tech for the last 10 years. I'm a former teacher, though. I taught history, government economics in the Bronx, but I've been in teacher training program and marketing for the last 10 years. So I'm really excited to be here. I started the U.S. office with my colleague James in January. It's based in San Mateo, as some of you guys know, but I'm actually based in Dallas. My husband's from here, and we moved back, but it allows me to traverse the country as often as I can. So if I haven't met you, I'm hopefully can meet you guys soon. So yes, hello. Anyway, I am the person behind FastPass, and my hope today is to tell you more about what we're doing and include you in as many of the decisions as we possibly can. Eric and I have been working together to make sure that we're as aligned as possible. So excited to be here. What I'll do really quickly is just share my screen. I'm going to show you a couple of the things that we do currently with FastPass and kind of give you that like background on it. So I'm going to time myself for the sense of pacing. I'm going to check in at 9:25, 5 minutes, and make sure we're okay. Because I could talk about this forever. Alrighty. Let's see here. So back in June and July, we started working together. Because I'm here in Dallas, I started working with people from the Dallas community, some mock class mentors, some new teachers, all that I interacted with at a few of the meetups here. And we got the go-ahead to test an in-person, the first ever coaching event. So we invited a bunch of applicants, and we thought that in a couple hours, I think it was a 6-hour period, we would be able to get someone who had never heard about VIP Kid all the way through the process and ready to teach. Obviously, we didn't know all the complexities of the process. So I've learned a lot along the way. But over time, we were able to kind of perfect it in Dallas and figure out what works for people. It is now a 4-hour session. We run 2 in a day, and we work with a training facility that has computer labs. And basically, we structure the day, and I'll go into this in a little bit, but if we first give a 30-minute overview of VIP Kid, what is this? And again, most teachers, the coaches who have been helping me with this, they say, I didn't even know half of this stuff about VIP Kid. Now, maybe you guys do because some of you are mock class mentors, but it's a 30-minute overview all the way from how Cindy founded this to, the Jack Ma Foundation. And then we spend the bulk of the day in these 3 areas. So demonstration, partner practice, and computer practice. There's generally about 4 VIP Kid teachers in the room to a classroom of about 25 people. A lot of the coaches are on this call. I've seen your face. This is kind of the background. So when we onboard the coaching teams, we usually explain why we do FastPass. We found that it increased our conversion, but we really just wanted to start building stronger city communities. And that's where this all stems from, is to put a human face to VIP Kid and maybe attract teachers that might be dubious of us or want to actually talk with someone. So as our recruiting gets more intense, you're not always going to find the people that are going to find VIP Kid on Facebook. I think we have to go deeper into the communities and make VIP Kid a well-known name. Whoever has spoken to me before knows that my goal is for when VIP Kid is on your resume, that all the schools in the area know what that means and know what kind of leadership you have, what kind of dedication you have to the kids and the ability to engage. So that's why we put this thing together, is to start getting that name out more in the local communities. Coaches really love it. To me, it's just an extension of meetups in a lot of ways. We have new teachers who have been teaching, for 1 to 2 contracts, and also mock class mentors. there's deeper relationships. You actually get to see each other like on a repeatable basis, and you start to get to know each other's families and what's going on with them. It builds confidence in the candidates to also see you guys, the applicants to see you guys as well. You get to share your passion just like you get to do with mock class. And the coolest part is that you're growing awareness for this project as well. But I really see it as a community-centered event. So this is what we do know currently about FastPass. Applicants who come dramatically increase their chances of getting hired dramatically, because to host an event like this is pretty costly. So it has to make sense, has to help people. And I think what we're doing right now is there's always going to be the ones that no matter what, they were going to pass. And there's always going to be the ones that no matter how many hours they practice might just not be the right fit. And I'm sure you guys have seen those come in. But there's this middle group that with a little bit of immediate feedback and a little bit of hand-holding, we can really push them over. And that's who we're focusing on. Applicants really like getting immediate feedback. So they're practicing in partners and we're able to correct them right there. It's small, not little. Here, we need to increase your TPR, or you're not waiting long enough for that child to respond. One thing I always tell everyone is applicants retain maybe 20% of what we're teaching that day. So if they go home with just a few more nuggets than they came in with, we're happy. Their favorite part, they fill out a survey, is meeting other VIP Kid teachers. And that's when I always say it's about community more than anything. Some applicants arrive with very little research on the company. Some don't even realize it's a Chinese company. They're often very nervous and anxious and overwhelmed by the whole concept of teaching online. Things that we are very familiar with, like acronyms or short notice bookings and TPR and contracts, like all that is just like too much information for them at that moment. And we also found, which has been really interesting, is multiple examples of teaching approaches actually really creates a lot of frustration in the day. So we've tried really hard to get back to basics as much as possible and offer basic demonstrations of that particular slide without a lot of other people chiming in, say, I would do it this way, I would do it this way, I would do it this way, because that they tend to leave even more overwhelmed. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So when they come to FastPass, basically they've been screened. But as you guys have probably noticed, we do take out the middle section, and we've played with it. So originally they used to come in and they would do the My Feelings demonstration, and they would actually record a 10-minute demo in the class. But it was a really stressful environment for them because everyone was recording at the same time, and it was stressful for the coaches. It was stressful for everyone involved. And so we kind of took that out and we said, why don't we just spend those 4 hours with them practicing on slides that they might see later, and instead of just the demo, and then they still are in the same place with mock. And what we would get is just a lot more questions afterwards. So that's the basics of FastPass. Just to be clear, it's a community event. It's tied in with our on-the-ground community initiatives. Yes, we are absolutely trying really hard to help people build the skills to pass their mock class, but it is so much more than that. It's about establishing almost like a brick and mortar presence in your city, a place where people can come in and ask questions. It's putting a face with this company. So that's also part of this as well. So what it's not a step-by-step overview of how to do a mock, because as we know, like that could change. It's not a detailed explanation of all the policies. It's not just teaching like one way to teach, and it's far from boring or corporate. It's actually a really fun, warm environment. So that's FastPass in a nutshell. This is like one of the slides that we share with them. So you say like, this is your format. You're going to teach letter X, then you're going to receive feedback. Then you're going to teach this. We talk about doing it inside your home with a headset and a mouse. And we give them this expectation for the day. We basically say there are 24 slides in mock. And today we're going to review 8 key skills. And you guys can all see those skills on the far right. So what we do is for each section, we practice one of the key skills, and we usually do 1 or 2 slides from their mock class. And we focus more on the early level than the early level ones, they fit better with these skills that we're teaching. And that's why you probably have seen, if you have seen them, they are more comfortable in that world. We find it's a little bit less overwhelming for them, and it allows them to practice these skills, and it's the more foreign skills and like the incidental language especially. We let them know we're not going to practice every slide. We're going to give you a strong foundation to work from. And we hope that when you go home and you practice more. And for every skill, we analyze a video that it's in the portal, so everyone has access to those. And then we either watch a video demonstration or do it, and then they partner practice, and then they do computer practice. And that's where they get practice using their props and doing their hand motions. One thing to note, like everyone that comes to see you all, they only get an hour in the portal in advance. And so all of these guys have 4 hours in that portal, and they get practice in a practice classroom to kind of understand where they fit. So that's basically it. I want to just give you one last thing, and then you guys can ask questions. This is an example of a slide. I'll go back. So we teach TPR, and we go through it with them together. And then we do a call and response. And we try to get to see, like, let's get our bodies awake and like practice with some TPR in class. And then we go through a class flow, and then we start with the letter X. And so we talk about that. That's a new content slide. We give some tips. And then when they actually get into role playing, we encourage the other person to be a little difficult. Maybe don't give a full sentence, or don't always do the gestures as well. So that's kind of what a general slide looks like. And then they probably get about 4 minutes of practice, and we get to go around the room and give them help. On their way out, we give them a checklist of things to bring to their mock class, and some feedback for them to go off of. And that's it. So that is it in a nutshell. I'm going to unshare my screen and see if there's questions. Okay.
Hi.
Okay. Hey, yes.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to know generally if you're looking to expand to other parts of the U.S. Can you hear me okay? I don't have
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. Great question. So the question is about expansion. So I still consider this full in pilot mode. So what we did this month is we actually launched in 13 cities. It was an overwhelming month. It was amazing. But we launched in 13 cities. These are the top cities where we have the most applicants.
Yeah.
So that's how we just kind of like went down the list. And so if we continue to expand, we'll probably go to the top 20 first. But what I want to think about is, and kind of like the meetups as well. There's something bigger here. Right now, I have to find training facilities and computer labs and the webcams, and it's really expensive to launch. But if we can find a way to launch it in smaller towns, we can do it as well. So I over the summer, we had a coaching pilot. We're trying to kind of put it together because we need to get people on board with this concept first, but then eventually I think we can get into a lot of different places. So great question. Where are you based in, Laurel?
Southern Alabama.
Southern Alabama. Okay, cool. So that's exactly right. So like if we get to Alabama, then maybe it would be testing a different kind of pilot of how to do this. Maybe it would be at a cafe, and you could use your your phone camera to practice, where we don't need a computer lab.
Right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you.
Can I just read the chat? I want to read the chats too. And go ahead. Who is talking?
Hi, Anne here. I have a quick question. What is the percentage of applicants that come to the event that end up passing through and becoming, a full teacher?
It's really high.
Awesome.
It's almost half of them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it seems worthwhile. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. The thing is what I don't know yet, frankly, just because we're just trying to execute right now, is the other half getting denied, or some just don't finish, right?
Right.
So that's something we have to consider too. So, and then we have to look at it, but it's extremely high. And I hope you guys have seen some people who've come that maybe wouldn't have been as good as if they hadn't.
Yes, definitely.
Great question. Okay, I'm going to read some of the chats. Or Eric, have you seen the chats? Is there anything I should call out here?
There was.
Do applicants pay to go to these? They're completely free. Are the applicants screened before FastPass? They fill out the basic information, so they have the basic information qualified. How do you handle applicants with a strong accent in these workshops? So we're not the evaluators. We are creating a great community experience for people. It's not the job of the coaches, actually, nor I, to distinguish that. We just want to help them. And hopefully if VIP kids are not the right experience for them, and we find that out in the mock class later and you can't understand them, hopefully we gave them the skills so they can do something else. But we're just not deciding that at coaching day. Accents. I have to. So excited. Would love to have this in Maryland. Okay, great. I will come to your city. I promise. And then someone else sent me a bunch of questions ahead of time that were coming up. So I thought, Eric, I could clarify if you'd like. I don't want to over.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Some other questions that came up. Are we telling them not to give rewards? No, we actually have everyone who comes in, they get a monkey banana prop, and they practice giving them bananas to the monkey. And we have the coaches talk about, what are some other rewards that you could use in your class? We do it at the end. So, the last hour. So I can't tell you how much people are absorbing at that point, but there's a great little video of how someone gives rewards throughout. Someone mentioned something about the soft C slide. We don't teach that one. We don't practice that one at all. But it's just because we practice other phonics. We're not neglecting it for any reason. I did pick some slides that are up front a little bit more, just in case applicants don't get to the end. But it's not. I would never. We don't say that if it's a one-off thing. Why do they do okay on the X, the lower lesson, and struggle more on my country, my culture? I think the reason is we focus more on the lower level. But when we tried doing lower and higher in 4 hours, it was chaos. We just couldn't. So we try to pull out some higher levels, teach them how to look at the objectives really closely, get them practicing on a couple of the reading slides, but we don't do them all. Why do we ask them to book a mock class when clearly they aren't ready? Well, I think some are and some aren't. What we try to do is say, schedule your mock class this week and practice this week, because we are specifically watching them and kind of keeping a lookout for them. On my end. So I'm looking to see how they're doing and to help move them along. But a lot of people reschedule if they don't. We have a high amount of reschedules because people just feel like they need a little bit more practice. And a couple more questions came in. Is not doing a demo a detriment to the candidate? It could be. Not doing a demo could. It could be. We have to look at the data. So far, it hasn't hurt that much, but I feel like the demos taught me how to do teaching. I got really good at the feeling slide. So, it is a good foundation, and maybe there is something in the future where we say, you really need to do a demo first and just get some practice. Do we teach little or small? We always teach small. But we walk around that room and we probably correct it 4 or 5 times a class. So people just generally just want to use little. So we try to teach small if we can, and we explain why. We talk about upper and lower case letters and how we all are consistently saying big and small. So those are some of the questions that came in. Any questions for me?
I just have a quick question. Is there any way that you want us to track if applicants or how successful they are when they are coming out through the mock class? Should we make a note in the oh, sorry, I'm tired, in the box there at the end where it says info for the mock class? I don't know. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just to back up a little bit, we base this off of the feedback like all of your guys' feedback that we see every day in the mock class. So more feedback the better. So maybe Eric and I can work on that. But as I've seen that people are, I don't know, either misinterpreting something that we're teaching and then they're teaching it wrong, or, for example, like at the end of the class, we give out a color copies of a fox and an ox and some other, and the Tenement Square, and some of the applicants may have used those. And early on, we just gave it out and said, use it. But then what we learned was we need 2 types of props. And so we have to be very clear now that when we hand out that flashcard thing, that they say that we also, make sure that's just cutting 2 of those out is not going to count. You need to make sure you have your whiteboard or, something else. So we've had to change that, as we've gotten feedback from you guys. So we're always, you guys, the mock class mentors are the ones that taught me how to do this. So we're always open to feedback there. Any other questions? Eric, do you seeing anything else?
Megan Edwards just asked if for general feedback or notes to supervisors. I think for the time being, if we really wanted to track that, and it is something we would like to track, it's just a matter of actually being able to implement it in the system itself.
Right.
When it's necessary, we can always have product implemented. It's just product right now has an infinite number of things, because when it comes to the product team, they're not just looking after mock class. It's not like mock class has their own product team. Right. They have to look after major course, applicants, all that stuff.
And so, Eric, what we did in the past, I don't know if you remember this as well, but we took one class of teachers and we said, okay, these people failed. So we went and pulled all their mock evaluations, and then we reviewed those, and we were like, can we see any trends? So without having you guys having to do it, we actually were able to look at their evaluations and say, okay, we're starting to see what we need to do. And the last thing I'll say is, it's an interesting predicament, because as I said, only 20% of people you only remember 20% of what we said. So we have to kind of pick and choose, where I don't think we're going to be sending anyone perfect to you. But my hope is that they're more comfortable in front of the camera, they're more patient, they're more confident when they come in, and they have a deeper understanding of why we do these skills. Why are we talk about lag time, and pausing, if they take that with them, that's great. That's my hope. And we're always trying to think of ways to just instill it a little bit more. Any other questions?
Alrighty. Okay.
Thanks all. And please, Eric, so Eric and I have a little chat with each other. So as you send him questions, he sends them to me. So, and then the last thing I'll say is I love having mock class mentors in FastPass. So when we do come to your city, we will let you know, because we'd love to have you. And I think one of the best things is having a mix of people, right? Because I had this woman who was 6 weeks in, and she came in as a coach, and she wasn't the instructor, but she walked around and helped, and the applicants really loved her because she totally understood the most recent experience on the platform. And so she offered her own kind of spirit in the group. So it's nice to have a nice little group there too. I hope to meet you all soon.
Thank you, Kevin.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so 2 other things that I want to just quickly talk about, and then we can make it an open discussion if anyone has any questions. First thing is applicant impressions. So a lot of times when we conduct our mock classes and afterwards, if the applicant doesn't get a job, and if they leave a VIP kid, say, a negative review, or if they're upset, almost always the first thing they'll say is, I have 25 years of teaching experience. I have 17 bachelors, 3 masters. I work with ESL kids. They feel like because they didn't pass as a VIP kid teacher, we're basically saying that they themselves are a bad teacher. But that is not the case. The case is that VIP Kid is an online teaching platform where you are working one-on-one with a kid who lives probably across the country from you. And they're, as kids are, easily bored, and it requires a lot of TPR, and incidental language is something that they have to be very mindful of. So whenever you're conducting your mock classes, if you could just, make it very clear that teaching with VIP Kid is something that requires a lot of learning. It's not something that people just pick up instantly, right? You could also talk about your experience as a teacher, and for all of you who should have been an MCM or should have been a teacher for at least 6 months now, you can always talk about how much your first class, how your first class experience is compared to your most recent class, right? Because I'm sure all of you have learned so much moving along as to what it is like to be a VIP kid, not just a teacher as a whole. The other thing is that when it comes to the Fast Pass event, I've noticed that sometimes the MCMs will talk about fantastic applicants they've had, and they will also talk about some less than fantastic applicants they've had. We have to remember that there are hundreds of mock classes going on every day, and not everyone, for lack of a better way of saying it, cares about getting this job, right? Because for most people, they think it's an interview. So they just walk in, and some people prepare for an interview and some people don't. Some people are confident that they can just wing it and it'll be fine. But we're really looking for someone who teaches well, who's prepared, who knows the material very well. So sometimes you get bad applicants, sometimes you get good applicants. It's a mixed bag. Don't ever look for the perfect applicant. There will never be an average applicant, right? There will always be highs, there will always be lows. And I just want to say thank you all for conducting these mock classes. I know that some of you have had amazing mock classes with fantastic applicants, and you've all probably also had some terrible mock classes with some less than stellar applicants. So thank you all for the work that you do. We really appreciate it over here, and we're doing our best to try to improve not only the applicant experience, but also your experience as well. Just a fun fact about, it's November now, math. About 7 months ago, we had 4 people on the MCM team here in Beijing. And now we have, I think, 16, 17. So we've grown really quickly, and luckily we've grown really quickly in order to better support you. So we're constantly trying to improve everything. Which brings me to my next point, which is that if anybody has any suggestions or tips on how we can further improve, I'm open to your feedback. So if anyone wants to say anything or type anything, take it away. Looking for suggestions on how to improve the mock class experience for you.
So I'm a relatively new MCM. When I first started, I came about halfway through those new workshop videos, and they were very helpful. But then there haven't been any offered, and I felt like I wish there was more videos or just a bit more like training available for new MCMs, because it just felt very overwhelming, and I felt like I was like thrown into it. So having more of those either videos from past ones to watch or just more workshops available to work on those skills, personally for me, would be very helpful.
Okay. Definitely noted. Someone else had something to say?
I wanted to follow up on the protocol for accent inquiries. The follow-up was something I was having trouble with, in that I did do the procedure that was included in the last weekly update, and then I got the email that said, well, you didn't submit, and now your pay is going to be docked. But I was told not to submit, and I explained that to them, and they said fine. But then I have all my written feedback, I spent time on, and really took a lot of time trying to make sure I was grading everything really accurately. But I have never heard anything back from anybody about the one time that I really did feel that accent was something that should be considered. And if it would be helpful to know how to do that whole procedure accurately and know what happens afterwards, I think.
Okay, so it's like this. So for mock class 1, if you have an accent inquiry, please write their written feedback as you normally would. And for their scoring, you should score everything as 1, and then email us. That's for mock class 1, and then we will review the class, and you can submit the feedback as well, and we'll review the class. We'll see whether it's valid or not. And when it comes to the mock class 1, because nobody can fail mock class 1, right? Everyone gets a mock 2 or they become a teacher. Then it's passed on. So with mock class 2, what you should do is you should still write your written feedback and press save. Do not press submit. So save means that your written feedback will be saved, and then we are going to use that and send it on to the applicant. And then we will watch the video ourselves and we will submit the scores. Just to verify, because at mock class 2, mock class 1 is also important. It's kind of like that first flag for us, and then mock class 2 is when we can actually really crack down and see whether the accent inquiry is valid or not. Teresa, I apologize. We should have sent you an email confirmation about the mock class 2. That was our fault. And furthermore, we also should not have doctor pay, because if it took longer for you to submit the class because you had to wait for us to get back, that's not fair. That's on us. I'm sure that was a miscommunication from our email team. But from the sounds of it, it sounded like it was cleared up. So I'm sorry, and I hope it doesn't happen again. But if it does, we will always, always fix any mistakes that we make in payroll. So I hope that answers your question.
Hey, Eric.
Yes, thank you.
I'm wondering if we have any plans to eventually recruit from other countries.
It is something we have considered. We do market ourselves in China as being able to learn from a North American teacher, someone who speaks rather neutral North American English. So at the moment, we've definitely considered looking into other countries, but we also have to think about what does the student, why are they learning English? Right? They're not learning English to stay in China. They're learning English because they want to go to school abroad. And for the most part, some people want to go to Australia. Some people want to go to the UK. But in terms of total, what's the word I'm looking for? Number of schools that you could go to, right? The US has a ton of colleges, tons of universities. Canada has like 18. I'm Canadian, so I can say that.
Yeah, we can judge in our accents and all of my
yeah.
accent. Oh my God, I am.
So we've definitely considered opening up to other countries, accepting applicants from other countries, but at the moment we haven't seen the demand from the student side. So I'm sure it'll reach that point eventually.
Hi, Jeff here. Sort of another slant on that is, one, the American and Canadian, because a lot of the curriculum is tied to Common Core. But two, we do actively recruit Canadians and American expats who are living around the globe. So it's not that we're just looking for people who are based in North America. We're looking for North Americans who are based around the globe. Sorry, my name is Jeff Carter. I've been involved with the company since about June. I've been very involved with the MCM team. I've done about 250 TBDs. For those of you, well, you all know what a TBD is. I've been in Beijing here now for about a month, and I'm working on some very big special projects for the company, and some that will impact most of you in the next number of months. But in terms of going back to the recruiting piece, yeah, so it's a lot of the Canadians and Americans, mainly because it's tied to Common Core, which is the U.S. curriculum. But we are actively looking for North Americans who are living around the globe. So if you know expats, teachers living in different parts of the world, they can certainly apply.
Am I frozen? Can you hear me?
Anyway, Eric's having some technical difficulties. So does anybody else have any questions that we can answer for you?
Okay, yeah. So Eric, the question was about the contracts and then the travel to Chicago. Should we feel secure in booking our travel since the contract is only 3 months long? Is there going to be a high renewal rate, or should we be worried about that?
At the moment, the number of MCMs we have are what we want to keep it at. We're not looking to drastically reduce it in any way. of course, it all depends on performance. I know that what people say is, if you don't hear anything, that's a good thing. I'm not too fond of that, simply because I don't think that's how it should be. So we are doing, or at least I would like to communicate with all of you individually when we have something good to say, not just something bad to say. For the moment, I would definitely say book your flights if you are planning on going to the MCM event.
Yay!
And make sure you let JoJo know. Or JoJo, Donna / Pasty / Brittany Collins / Elaine / me. So if you have everything settled and booked and everything, let us know so that at least we can get a better idea of a confirmed head count. It also makes it easier to juggle the numbers and see if we have to implement any further accommodations when it comes to the MCM event.
Eric, thank you very much. If I may take a quick 30 seconds, my name is Jojo. I am hailing from the Philippines, originally from Chicago. I am coming along with my family from the Philippines back to Chicago specifically for the MCM meetup, and I am looking forward to each and every one of you attending. I am hopeful that the MCM team from the headquarters, Eric and Elaine. To be honest with you, there are some other individuals that we're trying to bring along to our particular event, being that it is a meetup of the trainers of the company. And so with that, my dear teachers, on behalf of those who are organizing this particular event, we sincerely and humbly invite and will welcome each and every one of you back to my hometown. And yeah, we are going for deep dish pizza at Gino's or Giordano's. So please watch out for the Facebook posts as well as the Slack posts, because we do post on several areas. It's nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, Jojo.
We do. Yeah, I was going to say, I'll just add to that because we do have pending details as far as hotel reservations in group blocks, because we're coordinating some specifics as far as rates, breakfast and meals and stuff like that. So I know questions were coming in, which airport, all of that kind of stuff. We'll be launching or releasing the Golf and Country Club we'll be at. So that'll help to determine airport, but it is slightly outside of the city. So it's, Jojo, if I remember right, half an hour, 45 minutes.
That is correct. It's about 30, 45 minutes away from either airport, O'Hare or Midway, depending on where you're traveling into.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Do you know when the cutoff will be for registration for Chicago?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. We're going to have all that on the website. We're going to have the website up this week. All of that information will be right there on the website so everybody can see what it is.
Thanks, Donna. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the MCM meetup in April in Chicago. At the moment, I can say for certain that I will not be attending. Not because I was turned down, simply because I believe that there are other members on the team who deserve to go to Chicago and deserve to meet you all more than I do. And you know, it would be nice for all of you to see, because you all get to communicate with me, which is fantastic. I love communicating with you, but I want you guys to see the rest of the team. I want you to be able to talk and to interact with people that you probably normally wouldn't with on a daily basis, especially the people who are behind the scenes, because you know, I might be here, but really I couldn't do any of this without everyone else. So I'd very much like for you to meet all of them. If you want someone from Beijing to attend, you should be vocal about it. We'd really appreciate that. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, it'd be nice to have Cindy to attend too. We'll see if we can schedule her off for that time. Elise's question. Yeah, go ahead.
I had a quick question. Do we know, or do you know when the advanced rubric breakdown will be coming out? I don't think it's out unless I missed it, which is entirely possible.
So we released the intermediate level rubric breakdown, which is the same for level 4 and 5 for My Country, My Culture, and for Earth, Our Home.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
And the rubric breakdown, so the generic comments will also have one for the lower level class. So the generic comments for letter X and letter P will be the same, and then the generic comments for My Country, My Culture, and Earth, Our Home will also be the same. So there'll be 2 tiers, which hopefully makes it more clear on your side as well. Elise had a question. I have a question about the VIP Kids expansion into other countries and marketing for students in other countries. Is there a timeline on that? It's definitely something that we are looking into. I believe we have 1 student in Japan and 1 student in Korea, so sweet. But there's definitely the market there. We definitely have the framework for it, but at the moment there is no timeline. Okay. Alrighty, well, it's 12 o'clock for us, 11 o'clock for some of you. So that wraps up our MCM panel for today. I think we'll release a recording. We'll definitely have typed up notes so you can all refer back to it. And thank you all for coming. Thank you all for the hard work that you've put into the MCM role. We appreciate you. And again, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.